It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 3 movies of November 2nd, 2007. Today we've got Ridley Scott's latest film with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe reuniting for the first time since Virtuosity. Jerry Seinfeld stars in a movie where he plays a bee, and John Cusack has a movie where he has to take care of a child that may or may not be from another planet. I don't remember this last movie that we have here, but let's get right to it. And of course, this is only a couple of days after Halloween, which means the holiday movie season is upon us. All these big blockbuster family movies that everyone's going out to see. And the first film that we have here clearly is a movie that's perfectly tailored for all those families to go out, take the kids out of their costumes from Halloween, and into the movie theater to go see this first film.
That Uncle Frank? I want to be you. My investigation indicates that Frank Lucas is above the mafia.
Whose house is that, Frank? That is your house, Mama.
Bribery, extortion, murder.
You're gonna need more than that.
This is my home, my country. I ain't going nowhere.
American gangster. I think it all starts November.
That's right, come on kids, let's grab the Halloween candy, sneak it into the theater, and watch American Gangster, the perfect family film to start the holiday season. Of course, I am totally kidding on all those levels, but, yes, American Gangster is the first film that we have here, and as you can see, it's Denzel Washington and Ridley Scott working together for the first time since Virtuosity. Their careers have definitely been very different since that movie came out. Denzel Washington has now 2 Academy Awards instead of just 1. Russell Crowe has won as well, and has gone way from where he was in Virtuosity to now becoming the distinctive actor that he is nowadays, except also for the fact that he's also kind of a psychotic nut job at times too. But in this film, you have a story that's based on the story of it's based on the criminal career of Frank Lucas, who's played by Washington, and he smuggles heroin into the United States on American service planes returning from the Vietnam War before being detained by a task force led by Detective Richie Roberts, played by Russell Crowe. In the movie, you also have Josh Brolin, Ted Levine, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Norman Reedus, Ruby Dee, and Cuba Gooding Jr. among the cast in here too. And really, there's not much more you can really add to this film that hasn't already been said about it. It's a great film. It's definitely one of my favorite Ridley Scott movies, and one of my favorite movies of all time. Here you have 2 actors at the top of their game, Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, giving easily their best performance of the decade, and director Ridley Scott delivering his best directorial effort in years with this movie. And it's a good thing I'm talking about this, because I've been giving Ridley Scott a bad rap in the last year or so, because, yeah, I admit it, a lot of his movies recently have not been that great. In fact, most of them have been downright terrible. I mean, a lot of people like The Last Duel. I didn't like that one. I kind of like House of Gucci. I didn't like Napoleon. I didn't like Gladiator 2. The best thing he's done in the last came out almost 10 years ago, and that was The Martian. Well, actually, this October will be 10 years ago, but yeah, that's 10 years ago for a director who is a well-recognized and well-appreciated director on all levels. I mean, this is the guy that really changed the game for many, many movies. I mean, yeah, I've talked about his great works, the Alien, Warriors, Blade Runner, Black Rain, a lot of his movies that I liked in the past, and yeah, I've been harsh on him the last couple of years, but it's only because I love this guy's work from the past, and it just feels like he's repeating himself so many times, and it's great that I finally get to talk about a movie like this, because it shows that here's a guy that still has a lot of ability to tell an intriguing story here, and this is a really good story to tell here, and it's a very good movie, and it shows what Ridley Scott is capable of doing, and I kind of wish he'd go back to doing stuff like this and The Martian, revitalize the game, do something that's not just repeating the same stuff you've done over and over and over again. And yeah, I mean, Washington and Crowe have had other great performances in the decade. Both were great in Training Day and A Beautiful Mind, which, yeah, they were 2 films that almost could have made the list for the best of the decade. But this movie is still one that I still love going back to. It's a great movie, even at 3 hours long. American Gangster is a very entertaining and enjoyable film with strong supportive performances from the rest of the cast. Great character development, fantastic set pieces. They do a great job of bringing you back to this time period when these guys were doing their jobs and all that. And it's a shame that the film didn't get more award recognition. It only got 2 Oscars, one for art direction and then a supporting actress Oscar for Ruby Dee, who plays Denzel's mother in this. But you could have easily given Washington and Scott and Crow Oscar nominations for this, easily. But it's probably the best movie of its kind since Scarface. And if you have not seen this movie, see this movie. It is definitely one of Ridley Scott's greatest achievements. It's definitely one of Denzel Russell's best performances. It's a great movie. I can't recommend it enough. American Gangster is a great movie. So, yeah, I kind of screwed around with you with saying that this is a great family film, but here's the real family film that came out this weekend, that wonderful, wonderful movie from DreamWorks Animation. Let's take a look at their latest film, B-Movie.
Please go. Please go. Fans go. Fans go. Go. Ah! Windshield washers go. Windshield washers go. Tell them to climb back out. Climb out. Help us. Oh my God. Wipers go. Wipers go. I'm having fun. Oh, my leg. Oh, mother. Make it a motorcycle. Make it a rocket ship. Make it blue. Somebody help me. Is he dead? You called us a favor. Hey, wait a minute. Ow! Where's Steven? Where's Steven? Okay. Somebody help me! Oh, mother!
Yeah, see, Disney, we beat you to it. We made a live-action version of our movie that we haven't even made as an animated movie yet. Take that. Actually, I don't know. Actually, that's not really what that is. That is actually part of the brilliant marketing campaign for this movie, but we'll talk about that after I show you the real B-Movie.
The creators of Shrek, 1B is about to break all the rules.
No talking to humans. Keep your eye on the ball. And watch out for Wingo.
Ow! Maybe this time. This time.
DreamWorks B-Movie.
Hi, B.
Hi.
Rated PG. Starts Friday, November 2nd.
Ah, yes, B-Movie. The movie that became the meme, that was literally all over the place over 10 years after its initial release. And yeah, there were a lot of videos coming out about, there's a lot of memeable stuff in this movie that eventually made its way to the internet. And, you know, it made me wonder, was this movie ahead of its time, or was it just a movie that people just meme for the sake of memeing? And, but you saw there with those trailers, with that trailer early on, the teaser for this was very much, you know, a film that was basically an odd teaser, to say the least, where it was basically saying that, you know, this was basically their idea of selling the movie as a live-action film. I mean, you've got cameos by Chris Rock, Eddie Izzard, Steven Spielberg, a pre-crazy Zachary Levi, But yeah, what a lot of people don't remember about B-Movie is that it's the first major scripted project from Jerry Seinfeld since Seinfeld had ended 9 years prior. And granted, he had made guest spots on shows like Mad About You, Dilbert, Curb Your Enthusiasm, but unlike his Seinfeld co-stars, he never did any starring TV or movie projects except for, you know, stand-up specials and then the documentary Comedian, which we've talked about before. So this was a pretty big deal for Seinfeld to come back, and he made people make sure that they knew he was coming back. And boy, did he ever, because Seinfeld was, of course, on NBC. NBC helped to generate the buzz, no pun intended, on this movie, including 30 Rock doing an episode where basically Jerry Seinfeld was, you know, Dak Donaghy, played by Alec Baldwin, and had this idea to have Jerry Seinfeld plastered into all the NBC shows. So you see him in, you know, Law and Order Special Victims Unit, you see him in Heroes, you see him in Deal or No Deal, and then Jerry Seinfeld had to come in and tell him to stop doing that. And, you know, it's a great episode. It's definitely one of the funnier episodes they've done. But on top of that, you know, NBC had these B-movie TV juniors, if you will. They were basically little comedy shorts in which Seinfeld would have these little 3-minute segments that would air in the middle of the NBC Thursday lineup. I mean, they were really promoting this movie big time. I mean, it may have not led to it becoming a massive hit. Not that it did do bad business. It still brought in over $287 million worldwide. And it was definitely a profitable film for DreamWorks Animation, but it wasn't the Madagascar Shrek-style hit that I think the studio was hoping for. And it got beat out, of course, by American Gangster on that same weekend. It did eventually get the #1 spot the next weekend, but yeah. But what about the movie itself? The actual plot of the movie is bonkers on its own levels, because the story of this movie is that you have Jerry Seinfeld as a bee, Barry B. Benson, who is suing the human race for exploiting bees after learning that his florist friend Vanessa, played by Renee Zellweger, that humans sell and consume honey. So yeah, the story does not sound exciting. It sounds very cliche plot-wise, but when you watch the movie again, they do try to stem away from a lot of the cliches you would expect, like in the beginning. Barry and his friend Adam, played by Matthew Broderick, run into a group of pollen jocks, bees who collect pollen and flowers outside the hive. The jocks offer to take Barry outside the hive for a flower patch that he accepts. And you think they're going to be like complete dicks about it, and the next day Barry shows up, and then they're just like, hey, it's cool, we'll take him out. And I was glad that we were kind of steering away from much of those cliches that could have come up in a movie like this. They do have a couple moments here and there, but it's not enough for the movie to be ruined by. There are several subplots in the film that do get really pushed off to the side throughout the course of the film. Like the whole thing in the beginning about how the bees have to have their job immediately after they graduate. Never mentioned again. The whole thing about Barry dating Vanessa, which is something that actually happens in this movie. A human falls and dates a bee in this movie, but it's never mentioned again. Her kind of having somewhat an affair with the bee over her husband, played by Patrick Warburton, never mentioned again. A lot of these arcs they try to build in this movie, they just go off into the distance and they never come back. And it dings the film, and it could have easily dismantled the film's hopes and dreams in any way, shape, or form. But what carries the film overall are those few key elements, the animation. While it's not quite up to DreamWorks' higher standards, it's still impressive to look at. There are times when they can still get a lot of the human faces done. I mean, Ray Liotta in this movie is an example. Like, they still can't get some of the faces down. Ray Liotta in this is a big example, which is a really, really pointless joke, But when they show the flying scenes in this, they do look pretty impressive, and the humor is surprisingly really funny. There are those obvious bee puns they feel like they gotta throw in there just because they feel obligated to, but overall, a lot of the humor in this did make me laugh pretty hard. There's a hilariously cruel joke involving Winnie the Pooh and Piglet that made me laugh pretty hard, and there's even some jokes that I think most kids would not get, but even the adults kind of would, but they're still very obscure, like Ray Liotta. He has to be on he's testifying in court, and Barry Barry's just like, congratulations on your Emmy win for Law and Order or something like that. It's just like, why is this in the movie? I don't know. I don't even think they know what they're doing, but yeah. The cast is very good, too, here. You got a lot of people who are... Jerry Seinfeld seems very committed to the project. There's never a point where he feels like he's embarrassed by what he's doing, and he does surprisingly have some pretty good chemistry with Renee Zellweger, even though it's a very weird subplot. He is at least trying. There are moments where they are working off each other very well, and you also have a lot of good voice work in here. Megan Mullally, Larry Miller, Patrick Warburton, Chris Rock, Matthew Broderick, John Goodman, Rip Torn, Larry King, Barry Levinson, Kathy Bates, Oprah Winfrey. Everybody is used very well here. So, is B-Movie kind of an underrated masterpiece, maybe? I won't go as far as saying that, but but I do think it's one of the more lesser-known good DreamWorks movies. Unlike a movie like Shark Tale, which the movie definitely has a lot of that feel to it, but there's at least more in here that works a lot better than Shark Tale does. From the animation, from the voice work, from the humor. B-Movie just comes off as a better made movie, and I think what hurts it is the overhyped marketing, which the marketing campaign was great for it, but it made that seem like the film was going to be the second coming of Jesus. And when you're stacking up that high and putting it on that high of a pedestal, you better come out with where all bets are off. Like, you got to be like the Simpsons movie. And unfortunately, the Simpsons movie doesn't fall into that same kind of trap here, because they overhyped that movie. And it's a good movie. It's a really good movie, but it could have been so much bigger and much better than what they ended up doing with it. But I would definitely say give it another watch, and you might actually be surprised at what the movie actually was and actually works about it. It's an overall good DreamWorks animated movie that's gotten lost in the shuffle, mostly because of the memeable stuff that comes from it, but it's weird, but in a fun kind of weird. It's kind of reminding of something like a movie that we just talked about recently, like Flight Risk, or some of these really, really bad, really so bad it's good movies that we... Like, it's not on that level, but it definitely feels like it's close enough to that level where it's just like, it's worth checking out just to see how bizarre it is. And if you go into it knowing that you're going to be chaotically impressed by it, I think you'll have a good time with it overall. So Anyway, after all that, let's go ahead and move on to a movie that is not chaotically interesting or exciting in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it's pretty boring from what I remember from it. Last film we have here, and that is Martian Child.
This Friday.
A single man raising a child. How do you plan to deal with that?
I don't want to bring another kid into this world. But how do you argue against another one that's already here?
Critics are calling Martian Child one of the best family films of the year.
Mom, it all ends up in the same place.
The laughs and tears keep on coming in this totally winning story of the power of love.
Come on, you're a lefty. Nobody understands you.
And Jeffrey Lyons calls it a tender, touching story.
Nothing you can do that would change the way I feel about you.
Martian Child. Rated PG. Starts
Yeah, this is a movie that I very rarely remember, and maybe that's because the movie itself is not memorable by any means necessary. You have a story about John Cusack as a writer who adopts a strange young boy who believes himself to be from Mars. You have Amanda Peet as the love interest in here, and John's sister Joan Cusack is in the film as well. And this is a story we've seen done so many times before in the past, and sometimes you get a good story out of it if it actually works out very well with this isn't doing something a little bit different from it. But from what I remember from this movie, because it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, and I instantly completely forgot about it after I was done watching it. It's been years, and looking back on the trailer again, it's just like, yep, I'm starting to realize why I didn't like this movie in the beginning, and yeah. I can't say it's any good now. But then again, it's also not helping the fact that this was a film that was shot all the way back in May 2005 and was sitting on a shelf for several years and was on getting its release date pushed back, which is almost never a good sign. This means that the movie they knew was bad from the beginning, and they had no idea how to take care of it, because this has a $27 million budget. It didn't even make a third of that back. But yeah, it's not a very good movie, even though there's a great cast all across the board here. Cusack, Pete, Sophia Okinoto, you've seen in stuff like Aeon Flux, and Joan Cusack, Oliver Platt, Howard Hessman, Richard Schiff, Angelica Houston in here. A lot of good people in the film, but unfortunately, there's just nothing there. There's just nothing about the film that makes it worth it, and it's lifeless, it's boring, you don't like any of the characters, it's a melodramatic mess of a movie. It's a film that is just, it doesn't know what kind of a film it wants to be either. Why is it called Martian Child? Just because the kid thinks he's from Mars. Okay, well, what's the point of all this? And yeah, it just didn't work for me. It's just a film that's just really lifeless, has nothing of value to it whatsoever, and there's just nothing about it that makes it worth it in the end. It's a boring film. It's been years since I've seen it, but from what I remember from it, I was bored from the get-go, and I have no intentions whatsoever to ever go back and watch this movie ever again. So yeah, you could skip Martian Child.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
Every Christmas, families get together to rekindle their love for each other. Even Santa Claus and his brother Fred.
Stop trying to have Mom call me, because I don't want to talk to Mom.
I've never done anything like that.
Have you ever said, oh, Mom's here, jump on and say hi, she's standing right here. Have you ever done that?
Not to my knowledge.
Right,
And
well,
I
you
feel
have.
like, no.
Yes, you have.
You shouldn't eat like that. You're going to tear something internally.
You've already torn something internally in me.
Wow.
How the reindeer doing?
They're good.
Well,
They're good. Yeah, Rudolph has some kind of skin thing going on.
why'd you get a
I
dog?
want to make it this year. Why don't I get a dog?
What are you going to do with the reindeer? Can't fetch
But
anything.
dogs can't fly.
Can't bark.
But a dog can't fly.
A wet Willie. Stop it. A wet Willie. You stop it. Step back like you're 5.
Just out of curiosity, whose house was that they recorded that trailer in? Because that is not at anyone's house in the movie. They just broke into somebody's house on one Christmas, not even Christmas Eve, just any night in 2006 and said, let's go ahead and film this trailer in here, and then get the hell on out of here. I mean, that's what I feel like Santa and his brother did in that. Because, yeah, that is not in the movie whatsoever. That house does not exist at all. But, it's funny that they say this is from the director of Wedding Crashers, even though this trailer came out first in front of Happy Feet, which is a completely different film for anybody than Happy Feet. Happy Feet is a fun kids film. with an existential message about life and all that. But you know, Happy Feet's PG. When It Crashes is R. So I don't know what the hell they were thinking of putting that in there. But I digress. This is Fred Claus, and as you can see from the story, you have Vince Vaughn playing Fred Claus, the brother of Santa Claus, played by Paul Giamatti. And he's called in to help his brother at the North Pole when Santa realizes that his holiday is basically in danger of being shut down by this holiday inspector played by Kevin Spacey. And Vince Vaughn's brought in there to help things out, and he's got his mother played by Kathy Bates, and also there's elves played by John Michael Higgins, Elizabeth Banks. Fred's got a girlfriend played by Rachel Weisz. Ludacris is also one of the elves as well, and it's pretty much chaos all across the board, but a really good concept overall, a really fun idea that's actually based off of a poem called A Legend of Santa and His Brother Fred. But good idea, not even bad execution, but lackluster execution, because it's not a bad movie per se. It isn't a bad movie by any means necessary. It does have an idea of what it's trying to accomplish here, and there's times when, the message is pretty good too. Like, even the naughty kids need to get something for Christmas to shoot. That's a good thing to actually go to. That's a good thing to actually tell people about this in a movie like this. But when you watch the film, though, the biggest problem with this film is that it can't decide on which angle does it want to go with here. Does it want to be the screwball over-the-top Christmas comedy, or does it want to be a more heartfelt film, something on the lines of Arthur Christmas? And you get that they're trying to copy the Santa Claus formula. I mean, even the North Pole looks like something straight out of the Santa Claus. Like, if you had put the Santa Claus and then Fred Claus underneath it, like if that was a subtitle for a Santa Claus movie, would you be able to tell the difference between this and the Tim Allen movies? Me personally, I couldn't tell you the difference, but yeah, this is definitely a very mixed bag of a movie. When I came out of it watching it for the first time, I was just kind of like, it's not bad. It's okay for what it is, but it is definitely a film that has a lot more that's kind of wrong about it than there is good about it. There are some good elements to it, but the tonal shifts are just all over the place. The comedy isn't really all that funny. And just splitting the differences between, this movie and the Santa Claus are just way too. It's hard to do here, and I don't know, the idea of making some of these big names elves, notable names like elves like John Michael Higgins, Elizabeth Banks, Ludacris, that doesn't really work here. And the Santa Claus had the advantage of they were all kids, so at least it makes sense why they're all little people, and that's why they're elves. Here, there's just no excuse. They're just there to be these faces that you might recognize, but they're elves this time around. And yeah, it's a very clustered movie and a cluttered mess all across the board. And there are times when the movie can be really funny and really clever. Like, there's a great bit towards the end of the movie where Fred goes to the Siblings Anonymous meeting, and you see Frank Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's brother, and you also see Roger Clinton, the half-brother of Bill Clinton, and Stephen Baldwin, of course, part of the Baldwin family. Like, little scenes like that are really funny. Those are the moments where it's just like, okay, you got a good idea here, but I just wish there was more of that all throughout the film in general. But unfortunately, it just felt like a film that they just wanted to make because they wanted to make the next great Christmas classic. But unlike movies we talked about in the 2000s, like Christmas with the Cranks, Surviving Christmas, and Deck the Halls, there was a lot of ambition to this, and you could tell that they are indeed trying to make something fun and enjoyable and something that will stand as a holiday classic, but it's just not there with some of the great Christmas classics of all time, unfortunately. And at the time, the film was seen as kind of a bomb because it did cost $100 million to make. It didn't even make that back when it first came out. It only brought in $97 million worldwide, but, it's gone on to have a little bit of longevity because of it playing on Christmas so many times since then. You see it on AMC every holiday season now, but as far as the film itself goes, it's fine, I guess. It's right in the middle. Like, it's a movie where I can't say it's a great movie, but I can't say it's a bad movie either, because there are times when they are at least trying to do something fun and something unique with the idea. And it's a good concept overall, but just a mediocre execution all across the board that really just goes like, you guys were almost there, and you just couldn't do that one single thing to elevate this to a whole nother level. I mean, it's like I said, it's not a bad movie by any means necessary, but it's not a movie that you're going to want to watch every Christmas, so every couple, like, maybe once every 5 years. If there's literally nothing else on television during the holiday season, you could pop this on. It's like, I would watch this on a late night viewing before I go to bed. Like, if I'm watching AMC at like 2 in the morning on like a Wednesday night in December, and it's playing on TV and there's literally nothing else on, I'll pop it in there and watch it. I mean, like I said, it's not a bad movie, but just a film that feels like there's so much more that could have been done with it. But unfortunately, it's just not there for me to recommend it all the way through. So a very mixed opinion on Fred Claus. Like I said, not a bad Christmas movie, but definitely not one of the good ones that could be considered a holiday classic that you have to watch every year. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next film, which is a very interesting film, considering the behind-the-scenes history of it. Let's talk about Lions for Lambs.
On November 9,
So, what is this?
behind every big story,
We all need a win.
Is that code for off the record?
behind every closed door,
You're on your own.
behind every enemy line,
Rescue's coming!
is the truth. The event of the year has critics raving. It's an astounding political thriller you won't be able to turn away. Robert Redford, Meryl Streep, Tom Cruise, Lions for Lambs. Rated R. A Robert Redford film. Worldwide, November 9th.
So before we touch on Lions for Lambs, we need to kind of talk about what led up to this particular movie coming out, because there is a little bit of an interesting history behind this. MGM in November, a year before this, in November 2006, MGM announced that Tom Cruise and his production partner, Paula Wagner, were going to resurrect United Artists, and this came after the duo split from Paramount Pictures after 14 years there. Of course, Tom Cruise had a lot of his movies there at the studio, and Cruise, Wagner, and MGM Studios created United Artists Entertainment, and the producer, actor, and his partners owned a 30% stake of the studio with the approval of the owners at MGM. The deal gave both of them complete control in production and development, and Wagner was named the CEO and was a lot of the series of 4 films per year with varying budgets. And Cruise was slated to be a producer for the revamped studio and the occasional star. And one of the first movies they did was Lions for Lambs, and they continued to produce movies in general. They were supposed to be starring vehicles for Cruise. He'd have one other film with Valkyrie coming out the next year, but not even a year before this thing was supposed to get started with Lions for Lambs, Wagner was already gone. She went on to go ahead and produce films independently, and it led to speculation that United Artists was basically heading for another overhaul again. And they've gone on to re-release. They went on to re-release a couple of other movies in 2009. Release movies in 2009, not re-released, but we had the remake of Fame. We had Hot Tub Time Machine, and so yeah. So this was kind of a failure on many fronts for Tom Cruise and Paula Wagner. They went into this movie, they went into this idea of buying United Artists, thinking that this was going to be their future going forward. Like, this was going to be the way they were going to make movies from this point going forward. And it kind of is very reminiscent of something like, when Francis Ford Coppola ran United Artists and American Zoetrope, and in the 90s, and then more notably David Putnam, which we've talked about in length on this channel. So if you want to go check that out, go ahead and check out the video. I'll leave that in the corner and the description as well. But this was supposed to be the first film to kind of start that trend of Tom Cruise's movie future going forward, with films being made at United Artists. But as you can see, as I've been saying, it didn't quite work out as well as they probably wanted it to. And considering this movie in particular, yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of easy to see why this failed. So, in this movie, you have the connection between a platoon of United States soldiers in Afghanistan, a U.S. senator, a reporter, and a California college professor. And in this film, you also have a title that alludes to incompetent leaders sending brave soldiers into the slaughter of battle. It takes aim at the U.S. government's protection of wars in the Middle East, sending three different simultaneous stories. A senator who launches a new military strategy and details it to a journalist, that senator played by Tom Cruise, 2 soldiers involved in said operations, and their college professor trying to re-engage a promising student by telling their story. The professor being played by, I believe Robert Redford, and the reporter is played by Meryl Streep. And Meryl Streep had 2 movies that were very much anti-war in 2007. In fact, this, like I said with Rendition, we're getting into that trend of a lot of movies that were anti-war films, and most of them did not do very well. We'd have a couple exceptions here and there, like The Kingdom, but this is another one of those movies where a noble idea for a film, but it doesn't help when the film is completely and utterly boring, and this is definitely a film that is very, very boring of a film. I mean, this is a movie that is nothing but just, lectures, speeches about how, the war is bad and all that type of stuff, and how, you have one side going, the war is bad, and the other side going, like, the war is good, here's why we need it, and it's just like, that's the whole movie, and you can pack on as many stars as you want to, but you gotta give these people something more than that. Like, you've got to give them something else besides just sitting there for a lecture for an hour and a half, not even an hour and a half. I think this was like, it's an hour and a half. It's barely 90 minutes long. It's a movie that is just kind of like, it literally does feel like you're watching a lecture in a college, auditorium or at a presser or something like that. And it's just like, that's not what people want to see in a movie unless you're actually doing something that's interesting or engaging or something that actually people can get invested in. And there's just none of that in this movie. It is nothing but just dialogue being let out, filler. Nothing is going on. Like, you barely see any of the action overseas. Like, and even when you do, it's usually just archival footage. Like, there's literally nothing of value here in this movie whatsoever. This was based on like an off-Broadway play or something like that, like something like on the lines of A Few Good Men. Like, maybe you could make that work, but then again, I mean, we've seen that Tom Cruise can be a great actor before. We've seen him, Robert Redford and Meryl Streep in a lot of great movies. They're just doing nothing but just sitting there, just talking and talking and talking, and it's so boring because nobody is listening nobody wants to listen to this stuff because you're not telling it in a way that gets people invested in what's going on here. This was supposed to be the movie that was supposed to set the future for Tom Cruise's United Artists, and it bombed badly. Like, this film was not a hit with critics. It was a massive failure at the box office, and massive failure at the box office maybe is an overstatement because it did make its budget back. It made about $63 million worldwide, which is about two times its budget of $35 million, close to it. But at the same time, it's just like, people were very disappointed by the end result of this film. The film did not perform as well as they were hoping to, and it kind of put a damper on Tom Cruise's career going forward for a couple of years. Like, it took a little bit before he and Paramount eventually reconciled, and then, lo and behold, his career is back on track now with the Mission Impossible movies, and look what he's done with Jack Reacher and Top Gun. I mean, this is the start of that that low trend for him for a little bit. Like, nobody was really taking him seriously, and when he was trying to be taken seriously, he took it too far. And lo and behold, the film that we got was a film that is just so bland, so boring, so uninventive. There's just nothing there. Now, the second film that he would do under is that United Artists, Valkyrie, I think is a much better film. And we'll touch on that when we get to Christmas 2008. But that's a much better movie than this film was. This whole movie just feels very preachy. It's boring. Nothing is going on. It's great seeing these actors on screen, but you got to give them something to do besides just lecturing you for an hour and a half. This film did that, and it failed miserably on so many levels. But I guess if there's a positive here, hey, you get to see Andrew Garfield in his first feature film. You also get to see Derek Luke, Peter Berg, Kevin Dunn, Michael Pena. There's a good cast in here, just nothing here that really helps them give us a reason why this film deserved to exist whatsoever. And yeah, it's a major disappointment, especially with the talent that they have on here. So yeah, you could skip Lions for Lambs. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is the horror film P2.
Hey, are you Deep Throat?
Oh, no, I'm Rim Job. You want level P2.
Now, to be fair, that would be a much better movie than the actual movie that we're going to show you. That is called P2.
For 3 years, Angela Bridges has worked in this building.
I mean, I can't wait to see you guys.
Please don't be late.
I promise, I won't.
And for 3 years,
This is not happening.
he's been watching.
Hey! I'm still in here! Wait!
Looks like somebody's playing games.
The terror won't stop until she stops him. P2.
So let me see if I get this straight. She's worked there for 3 years, and yet she has no idea how the hell to get out of there, get out of that building whatsoever. Like, that's your first mistake right there. You've been there for 3 years, and you have no idea how to get out of this building without. is in any way, shape, or form. Like, none of that makes any sense whatsoever. But you have Rachel Nichols, who plays a young businesswoman who's being trapped in an underground parking garage in Midtown Manhattan on Christmas Eve, where she's pursued by a socially awkward, psychopathic security guard who is obsessed with her, played by Wes Bentley. Gee, typecast it that much, dude? Like, it's basically the same role he's playing in American Beauty, except this time he's a serial killer. And again, it says something when the Dexter's Laboratory episode Trapped with a Vengeance, where Dexter is trapped in the school with the security guard, with like the janitor and all that, when that is much more threatening than a movie like this. That should tell you everything you need to know when a cartoon is easily more terrifying than whatever the hell this experience is that this woman is going through here. Like, yeah, this is a terrible movie. And it's written by Alexander Aja, who did High Tension, which was a great movie. And this is made by the same co-writer who did that movie. But this is not directed by him, though. And I think that's really, I think that's part of the problem with the movie. The other problem is that nobody in this movie is likable at all. Like, I'd be more interested in it if I cared more about the characters involved in here, specifically Rachel Nichols' character. But I'm sorry, like, you look at her in this movie and watch what she does in the film, and it's just like, you set yourself up for this situation because you're way too dumb to be in this situation. And like I said, it takes you, you've been here for 3 years and you have no idea how to get out of this building. Like, that's what, it's like, things like that are just are just complicated things that I can't really take away from the film in terms of the level here. Like, I get it. It's a psychological horror film. It's a horror film that's supposed to be featuring dumb white people. I get that. But at the same time, it's just like, you can't be this stupid. If everybody else can get out of this freaking building but you, that's your problem, man. Like, the guys from Seinfeld in the parking garage episode found a way to get out of that building easily. He's found a way to get out of this building easier than this lady does. Like, this is... And Wes Bentley is not threatening whatsoever. Like I said, he's just playing the same character he played in American Beauty all over again. Except that he's less scarier and creepier, and it's just more he's just more of a creep, more than, not even a good creep, just like a generic stock movie character creep. In fact, everyone's here is playing stock movie characters. Like, Rachel Nichols is the damsel in distress. Everything about the movie, just, nothing about the film just works at all. It's a boring film. You don't like it because you don't like these characters whatsoever. And yeah, it's just not worth it. And yeah, there's gore in the movie because, we're in the Saw Hostel age. But yeah, being bloody and gory doesn't save your movie by any means necessary. And this is definitely one of those examples of a movie where they do that and it fails to not work whatsoever. So you can skip P2. So 3 misfires in a row. Can we finally get a good movie out of this next one here? Well, it depends on who you ask on that, because our last film that we have here did win the Oscar for Best Picture this year, but not without some major controversies that went on around the time. Let's talk about the Coen brothers' No Country for Old Men.
Innocent man who found a fortune. A deadly stranger.
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
On his trail.
These people are killing. They won't quit.
They won't either.
Now,
Where is it?
there is no turning back.
You bring me the money, I don't let her go.
Newsweek, Time, and Rolling Stone agree. There's no movie like No Country for Old Men. Rated R. In select theaters this Friday.
So in this film, you follow 3 main characters. Llewellyn Moss, played by Josh Brolin, who's a Vietnam War veteran, and a welder who stumbles upon a large sum of money in the desert. Anton Chigurh, played by Javier Bardem, who's a hitman seeking to recover the money, and Ed Tom Bell, played by Tommy Lee Jones, a sheriff investigating the crime. You also have Kelly MacDonald as Moss's wife Carla Jean, and Woody Harrelson as Carson Wells, a bounty hunter seeking Moss in the return of the money. That's $2 million. This is a film, of course, that won the Coen brothers their Oscars for Best Picture. They also won Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem. Trying to think of what else it won. I can't remember if it won Best Director. I don't think so. I think that went to the guy who did Atonement. Let me double check here. No, they won it. No, they did win Best Director here. I did not know that. But Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, they won those awards. It was also up for Best Cinematography, Film Editing, Sound Editing, and Sound Mixing. But yeah, this was a film that won them all these Oscars. Do I think it's their best movie? No. I still think The Big Lebowski and Fargo are their crowning achievements. Fargo should have won Best Picture in 1996, but Harvey Weinstein had a saying in that. So, but Yeah, Fargo, I think, should have been the Best Picture winner for the Coen brothers. But this is a really good film regardless. It's a very engaging film. You do get invested with the characters involved in here. You know, Josh Brolin is very good in the film. Tommy Lee Jones is really good. Woody Harrelson has a good supporting role here. Of course, one of the biggest takeaways from the movie is Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh, who is very good in the movie. Like, he plays this hitman role to a T. He comes off as the menacing threat that he looks like he should be, and it's a really damn good performance by him, where he definitely deserves to win the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for this role. It's a great role for him, and overall the film is really good. But the big question is, why was this so polarizing at the time? Well, it mostly came from the ending of the movie and the major differences from the novel itself. You know, they do a lot of things that's different from the book. Like I'm reading on here that one key difference, according to Craig Kennedy, one of the key differences is that of focus. The novel belongs to Sheriff Bell, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and each chapter begins with a narration by him, which dovetails and counterpoints the main actions of the main story. And though the film opens with Bell speaking, much of what he says in the book is condensed and it turns up in other forms. And Bell also has an entire backstory that didn't make it into the film, resulting in a movie that's more simplified thematically, but one that gives more of the characters an opportunity to shine. That's from Kennedy himself, and Jay Ellis elaborates on Chigurh's encounter with the man behind the counter at the gas station, where McCarthy gives up Chigurh's question as, "What's the most you've ever seen lost in a coin toss?" He says, "The film elates with the word saw, but the Coens, of course, tend to the visual, which the book describes the setting as almost dark. The film clearly depicts high noon. No shadows are notable in the establishing shot of the gas station, and the sunlight is bright even if behind cloud cover." But one of the other big things was that the ending was largely criticized. Some people said it didn't have an ending. Others say it had an ending, and it was very much a weird controversy that was going on at the time. And you know, when I first saw the movie for the first time, I really didn't notice it, honestly. I was just I came out of it going like, this is a really good movie. And as time has gone on, I get where people could say that the final climax of the movie isn't really much of a climax overall. But I mean, I did like what they did with it overall. I thought it was very impressively handled how they managed to work it like they did. I personally think it's a controversy that was just of the time, and I felt like maybe it needed to take its time to really get people to look at it and go like, you know, maybe there was an ending there and we just didn't see it. I mean, I don't know for certain. I never really saw the problem when I first saw it the first time around, so maybe I just needed to have seen what everyone was talking about beforehand. But then again, this was also coming out. I don't know if they started shooting this before the book came out, or they just had no idea what the book was what was actually in the book, or they just decided to do a new ending regardless, kind of take the Forrest Gump route, because if you ever read Forrest Gump, the book, it's definitely much different than the movie itself, and it falters big time compared to how good that movie is. So I can understand on that front why they would want to change the ending around, but I think either way it works very well for what the Coen brothers do best here. I thought it worked very well. I thought it was very enjoyable. I think it's still a really good film overall. No, it's not one of the best Picture winners of all time, nor is it really the best Coen brothers movie of all time, but it's a film that got them the Oscar, and for that, it's a good movie, so I would be willing to give them a pass on that. I wish that a movie like Fargo would have won it, but you know, you can't always get what you want as the song goes. But overall, I did like No Country for Old Men. I still think it's very enjoyable. I still think it's a really good film.
They say you have a monster here. They say your lands are cursed.
There have been many brave men who have come. But in the morning, there was nothing left but blood and the floor, and the benches, and the walls.
I am Beowulf. I will kill your monster. Tonight will be different. I am Ripper, Terror, Slasher. I am the chief in the darkness, the challenge in the night. Mine is strength, and lust, and power. I am Beowulf!
We seem to be stealing a little bit from the 300 marketing campaign, aren't we, Paramount? This was also co-produced by Warner Brothers. It had international distribution, but they really were pushing it hard for the same kind of audience that 300 had. But it was PG-13. This one was PG-13 instead of R. It got to the point where someone actually created an I Am Beowulf Sparta remix back when this came out. I am not joking.
Beowulf. Beowulf.
It really does sound like he's saying werewolf multiple times. Like, I kept thinking of that Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode where they looked at the movie Werewolf and the way she says the word werewolf is just like, wow woof. Like, that's what that felt like watching that. But then again, it also could be Patrick Star doing the wee woo from the Hall Monitor episode of SpongeBob. But anyway, this is Beowulf, which is based off of the old epic English poem. It's a modern interpretation of the poem with certain changes to the aspects of the narrative. And Neil Gaiman and Roger Avary wrote the script for this, which is very fitting considering what both Neil Gaiman and Roger Avary are now up to. Roger Avary is still in prison, and Neil Gaiman has been accused of many sexual harassment claims. So, yeah. Time flies in 18 years, but you have a cast that includes Ray Winstone, Anthony Hopkins, Robin Wright, Brendan Gleeson, John Malkovich, Crispin Glover, Alison Lohman, and Angelina Jolie, who plays Grendel's mother. And I'll tell you this, the most memorable thing from this movie when it came out was Angelina Jolie in this movie, because, yeah, even though this is an animated movie, they did a pretty good job of making her hella naked without her actually being naked. I mean, they just basically covered the nips and the vagina, and yeah, she's pretty much naked, and she's got a tail in this movie. So for anyone who had those weird fantasies out there, there you go. There it is right there. But all joking aside, though, I actually do kind of like this movie. I think it actually is one of the more underrated Robert Zemeckis movies around this time. Because like I said before, this was when he was really going full in on the motion capture animation style with work with the Polar Express and Monster House, and then later A Christmas Carol. And then it kind of fell apart with Mars Needs Moms, and the ill-fated Yellow Submarine reboot that never got made by Disney. But this was actually a pretty good movie, and it still actually does hold up. It is actually a lot better than I think the trailers from back then kind of made you think it would be. Like, it felt like a film that would probably be a product of its time and then kind of just evaporate away, but it's actually gotten a lot better as time goes on. I'm actually kind of surprised this has not gotten a 4K release yet. If it has, it was probably one that barely came out and nobody really remembers it came out, but I'm kind of surprised it hasn't gotten a full wide 4K release. And this was one of those movies where they were really testing the idea of putting these big blockbuster movies in 3D. This is a film that's tailored specifically for an IMAX 3D experience. I mean, this was starting to begin the push of that as more of the digital 3D movies are going to come within the next couple of years, especially with Avatar coming up in about 2 years' time. But yeah, overall, I thought the film was pretty good. Ray Winstone plays a very good Beowulf. Angelina Jolie is very good in this movie, playing Grendel's mother. The voice acting over here is top-notch. You got Hopkins, Wright, Gleeson, Malkovich, Glover. I mean, a lot of really good names in this film. The animation still looks pretty impressive after all these years. I was really expecting this movie to be very dated over time, but far from it, man. It's actually gotten a lot better as time has gone on, honestly. At least in my opinion, it has. But, yeah, like I said, this was a film that was really kind of a little game changer before we eventually got the movies that would eventually show that there is a future for digital 3D movies, even with the little higher prices on the 3D glasses in general. But this is a really good movie. It's one I do recommend checking out. It's actually one of Robert Zemeckis' more underrated films as a whole. It's a film I actually do kind of enjoy a lot. I really do like this film. It actually has gotten better over time, so I do recommend checking out Beowulf. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is, I completely forgot it for a second, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. How can I forget a movie with a title like that?
Good morning.
Let's open the store.
Welcome to Mr. Megorian's Wonder Emporium.
How much for that fishmobile out there?
That's $50.
Don't you think that's a little high?
If you notice, they are fresh fish.
Where the storm is alive and wonders never cease.
It's magic.
Till now.
It's not real nice to stare at people.
Then again, that title will probably be the most memorable thing you remember from this movie, because everything else, yeah, it's not that good. You have Natalie Portman, who's Molly Mahoney, and the manager of Mr. Megorian's Wonder Emporium, the awesome toy store owned by Mr. Edward Megorian, played by Dustin Hoffman. Molly was a promising composer and piano player when she was a girl, and now she is a 23-year-old insecure woman who feels stuck in her job. Don't we all? But among the costumers of the Emporium is the lonely hat collector Eric Applebaum, who has only Molly and Mr. Megorian for friends. When the last pair of shoes that Mr. Megorian bought in Toscana is worn, as he hires the accountant Henry Weston, played by Jason Bateman, to adjust the accounts of the Emporium. Furthermore, he claims that he is 243 years old and his time to go has come. He gives a block of wood called Congreve Cube to Molly and asks Henry to transform the Emporium to her name. Molly tries to convince Mr. Megorian to stay in his magical toy store instead of going. And you can pretty much see everything that's wrong with the movie in particular. It's a film that is trying so hard to be the next Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, even more so than the 2023 Wonka movie was. And I didn't like the 2023 Wonka movie. I still don't like that movie, but this is a film that is just trying way too hard to be like that. It's trying to be the next Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but it's more like the Troy McClure movie that he was doing in that episode of The Simpsons. What was it? The Contrabulous, I gotta remember now. I should know this. The Contrabulous Fantraption of Professor Horatio Huffnagel. Will it be a hit? 20th Century Fox is betting it will. Which I'm probably thinking is the same thing they thought with Mr. Megorian's Wonder Emporium. Will the gamble pay off? 20th Century Fox is betting it will. Sad news is that it did not. It's a film that is so bad that even the director, Zach Helm, has since disowned the film, and he's gone on to become a prolific director on Breaking Bad. And, yeah, the film is just all over the place, right down to the cameos in this movie that have absolutely no purpose to be in this movie whatsoever. Like, there's one cameo in particular that still baffles me to this very day, and that's Kermit the Frog, who just shows up and is just there shopping, and he's got these kids watching him, and he's just like, "Oh, hi, hey there, it's just me shopping." That's it, and that's the last time we ever see him. I mean, it's a really pointless cameo. At least when Oscar the Grouch showed up in Nightmare on Elm Street, that'd be a different movie altogether. At least when Oscar the Grouch and Darth Vader showed up in I keep doing it again, in Night at the Museum 2, there was at least a point. They were there for longer than 10 seconds, unlike Kermit in this movie. It just felt like, why is he even in here? Like, what's the point? Like, are we trying to just make the notion that, hey, even big stars like Kermit the Frog show up in this film and show up at this place? But yeah, it's not a very good movie. It's a real misfire of an opportunity, and maybe they had an idea of, like I said, turning this into the next Willy Wonka, but the difference is between this and Willy Wonka is that Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory is a movie that was ahead of its time and still very much holds up over 50 years later. I mean, this is a movie that still is very entertaining, and yeah, this movie just feels like they were just trying so hard to create the next Willy Wonka, and it just failed on so many levels. It's a film that's not enjoyable. It's a really lackluster film. It's amazing that a movie about magic and wonder has none of that whatsoever. If you want a better movie that is trying to be Willy Wonka and succeeds, watch the movie If that just came out in the last year with John Krasinski. That's a much better movie. That was a much better attempt to try to create a new Willy Wonka for a new generation. And that's one of my favorite movies from last year. I recommend that one first before I even think about making you guys sit through something like Mr. Megorian's Wonder Emporium ever again. Or even for the first time around. Just don't watch it, man. All these people involved in here have been involved with much better things in general. I mean, Zach Helm went on to direct Breaking Bad. Dustin Hoffman, Natalie Portman, Jason Bateman. There's so many other movies you could watch with them involved. Just don't bother with this movie, man. Avoid it like the plague. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to, we're getting into the indie films now. The films that were supposed to be Oscar contenders, and not so much. They did not even come close to the Oscars with most of these. But let's start with the first one here. Javier Bardem, following up last week with No Country for Old Men, stars in Love in the Time of Cholera.
16th comes one of the greatest love stories ever told.
I write this very short note to let you know that I love you.
Based on a novel by Nobel Prize-winning author Gabriel Garcia Marquez. How long would you wait for love?
61 years, 9 months, and 4 days. That is how long I have loved you.
Love in the Time of Cholera. From director Mike Newell. Rated R. Starts November 16th. Only in theaters.
I don't know if I just have The Simpsons on my mind right now, but every time I hear that title, I always think of the Treehouse of Horror episode where they go into ethnic town, and, there's, people are singing in the town, and one of them goes like, "Cholera, I have cholera," and he starts coughing like, like, that's what I think of whenever I hear the name cholera. But, Love in the Time of Cholera tells the story of a love between Femina Daza, played by Giovanna Mezzogiorno, and her lover, Florentino Ariza, played by Javier Bardem, and her husband, Juvenal Urbino, played by Benjamin Bratt, which spans 50 years from 1880 to 1930. This is based off of a book, as you saw in the trailer there, by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and is directed by Mike Newell, the director of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And, it's not a bad-looking film per se, and it does have those moments where Javier Bardem has some good chemistry with the girl in the movie, but at the same time, it is really pretentious. It is definitely a very pretentious movie in general, and there's not really a whole lot there to the romance that makes you want to stick around throughout the course of it. The chemistry between the actors is fine, but everything else, though, it's a very pretentious, bland, romantic movie. And yeah, there's nudity in it, but as I always say, if for a movie like this, there's a reason why the internet exists, because you can go find that stuff easily and not have to waste your time with this movie, especially considering that's a film that's over 2.5 hours long. Okay, close to 2.5 hours, 139 minutes. It's close to 2.5 hours, but despite everything the movie has going for it, it's a film that is very much bland and pretentious, and the story is nothing that spectacular or amazing, and nothing really about it makes you want to stick around towards the end of it. Yeah, another letdown of a movie this weekend. Love in the Time of Cholera, avoid it like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, Richard Kelly's follow-up to Donnie Darko, and that is Southland Tales.
Is an epic Los Angeles crime saga.
You're gonna have to wear a bulletproof vest.
From the creator of Donnie Darko.
Take him down.
Dwayne Johnson, Sean William Scott, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Mandy Moore, and Justin Timberlake.
It had to be this way.
I know. A film by Richard Kelly. Southland Tales.
There'd be a lot less violence if everyone just got a little more cardio.
Rated R.
Sort of like this year's Ocean's 12, because it was pretty much a movie that was very much a film that nobody had any real idea of what the hell they were doing there, and I don't even think the movie was there either. But then again, Richard Kelly had just come off of Donnie Darko, and this is his first movie since then, and so everybody and probably the people who funded the movie said, "Hey, you made Donnie Darko, you made one of the great cult films of this decade, we'll give you a blank check, you can do whatever you want." And movies like this are the reason why you don't give people blank checks to do whatever they want, because you get something on the not quite as chaotic as something like, say, Megalopolis with Francis Ford Coppola, but you get a movie that's not that great either. This is an international co-production of the U.S. and Germany, set in the then near future of 2008, and is a portrait of Los Angeles, as well as a satiric commentary on the military-industrial complex and the infotainment industry. And yeah, movies like this, you either hit it out of the park right away, or you just find yourself falling apart pretty quickly. And sadly, this one falls apart really quickly. Despite all the talent that's in this movie, Dwayne Johnson, Sean William Scott, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Mandy Moore, Justin Timberlake, Miranda Richardson, Bai Ling. There's a lot of good names in this movie. Wallace Shawn. Yeah, as many good names are in this movie, it's a very pretentious, bland mess of a movie. And yeah, I waited, I was one of those people that saw back in the day, and I didn't think much of it. I thought that was alright for what it was. But yeah, maybe it's a film that time needs to wait for this movie to get to show, like, maybe this was predicting the future. And this this movie has not gotten better in 18 years since then. I mean, even back then, it was seen as a very polarizing movie. And even though it has a cult following, it's a Richard Kelly movie. Of course it's going to have a cult following. He made one of the great cult movies of all time with Donnie Darko, which also had a sequel that was not successful whatsoever. But then again, he wasn't really involved in it per se. But yeah, it's a boring film. Nothing about it works overall. And it's just a lousy film that it really has no idea of what it's trying to be. Does it want to be a straightforward comedy? Does it want to be a drama? Does it want to be a dark comedy on the levels of something like a Donnie Darko? It doesn't really know what exactly it wants to do, and it really does feel like it's all over the place. You can't really tell where it's going, and I thought, like I said, I thought maybe time would pass, and maybe I'd find the beauty of it later on down the road, but, yeah, that is sadly not the case, unfortunately, so, yeah, another hard skip this time around on Southland Tales. So with all that said, let us go ahead and move on to the last film that we have here, and that is Nicole Kidman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Jack Black in Margot at the Wedding.
Pauline were perfectly happy
You can't marry him.
until Margot came home and made everyone perfectly miserable. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone raves the laughs come fast and furious, and they're sharp enough to draw blood.
I'll punch your sister.
You've never hit anyone.
You don't know them. They're not around because I punched them.
From the director of The Squid and the Whale, Nicole Kidman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Jack Black.
You know, she referred to me as her closest friend.
Margot at the Wedding, rated R.
Or I guess Margot at the Wedding, whatever way you want to look at that. But why is the T there? Is it like with E? You know, the E is silent, so I guess here the T is silent. But anyway, regardless, the film is about the familial storm that arises when Margot, played by Nicole Kidman, a writer comes to visit her sister Pauline, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, on the eve of the latter's wedding. And this is directed by Noah Baumbach, who did The Squid and the Whale, of course, and coming off of a critically acclaimed film like that, as we've seen this week with several of the movies here, with Richard Kelly with Southland Tales, Mike Newell with Love in the Time of Cholera, and I thought there was one more, but then again, Zach Helm didn't really do anything before that, or neither did Robert Zemeckis. But coming off of a critically acclaimed movie like The Squid and the Whale is a tough act to follow, and everyone is expecting you to follow that up. Like, what's your next big move going forward here? And yeah, with a movie like this, it's of the three indie films that we had this weekend, this one is the least bad. It's one that's at least trying. You can tell there is something there. You can buy into the characters overall, but the story is just something we've seen done to death so many times before in the past, and it doesn't really help the film in general when it's trying to be something unique and stand out on its own, especially be an Oscar contender around this time of the year. But unfortunately, it's just not here with this movie. And I like that Jack Black is doing something a little bit different outside of the comedy that he was doing at the time. This was something that was seeing him in a more dramatic role. I thought it was fine, and I think he's proven time and time again he could be a really good dramatic actor when he needs to be. I think Nicole Kidman and Jennifer Jason Leigh are fine, but other than that, though, there's just really nothing else there to really give this movie the spark that something like The Squid and the Whale had. And I feel like they really just half-assed it this time around, just made a safe bet movie, go for the Oscars, see if you can get something there, and unfortunately this film did not receive any Academy Award nominations as far as I know. No, it did not. The most I think it got was a Critics' Choice Award from the Chicago Film Critics and the Satellite Awards and Independent Spirit Awards and the Gotham Awards. But the Oscars, I think, were smart enough to stay away from this movie because, yeah, it's not very good overall. So, I mean, it's the best of the three indie films we talked about beforehand, but it's not really a great film either. A mixed opinion, but mostly leaning towards skip it.
Of all the classic Disney stories, of all the miraculous adventures, of all the magical tales, there has never been anything like Enchanted.
Thank you.
Because no other story has ever taken you
Edward, we need help!
to a land as strange and terrifying as ours.
Oh my. I was wondering if one of you might direct me to the castle.
What? Will you?
very nice to me.
Yeah, well, welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Giselle, I will rescue you!
Now,
Who's gonna rescue me?
I seek a beautiful girl.
I'd like to find one of them too, you know?
their world and our world
I think she may be a real princess.
are about to collide.
All right, everyone, let's tidy things up.
Oh my gosh.
And nothing will ever be the same. This November,
How does she know?
Don't sing. It's okay. You know, let's just walk.
one ordinary man will have to get them back home before time runs out.
Magic Mirror, I beg you. Tell me where she is.
Reporting from 116th and Broadway.
116th and Broadway. Thank you, Mirror.
Walt Disney Pictures presents the motion picture event of the holidays.
You've met your match, foul beast!
Are you crazy? Nobody stabs my bus. Don't you run away from me. Crazy, tight wearing.
Enchanted.
Giselle!
God, James Marsden is so funny in this movie. In fact, everybody in here plays their parts very well, for the most part. But we'll eventually get to that later on here. But as you see from the trailer, you have an atypical Disney princess named Giselle, who is exiled from her animated world into the live-action world of New York City. And as you can see, this is both an homage and also a self-parody of Disney's animated features, which makes a lot of numerous references to past works through the combination of live-action filmmaking, traditional animation, and CG, and it even has a couple of notable Disney princesses dispersed throughout the movie. Jodie Benson's in the movie, Paige O'Hara, and of course a future Disney princess in Idina Menzel, who actually becomes a queen later, Queen Elsa, with Frozen. But you also have Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who wrote many Disney songs, so there's a lot of people very familiar with Disney all across the board. In fact, the animation is done by a Disney animator, James Baxter, one of the most prolific Disney animators ever, and just animators of all time, if you've ever seen his work before. And, yeah, the movie is doing a very good job of selling you on what the film is. It's a very good self-parody, self-satirical, but a loving homage to the classic Disney animated movies. And, you know, you got a really good cast that's working with their butts off here to make it work. I mean, Amy Adams is just pitch perfect as Giselle. She is just such a delight to watch in this movie. Her chemistry with Patrick Dempsey is very good in this movie, too. And, like I said, James Marsden is one of the great things about this movie. If it's not Amy Adams breaking out here, James Marsden is absolutely hilarious in this movie. Like, anytime he's on screen, like, he is so uplifting in this movie. And it just shows how much he could have been a really big leading star. They given him the right roles to work with here. He was on a good stretch from this at this point. Like Hairspray, and then this movie, and then he'd be one of the few bright things about 27 Dresses coming up in a couple months. But, you know, everything about this movie really does work. There's a lot about it that works very well. The animation early on is really good to watch. The story is very impressively told. It's a really fun homage to Disney classics. I mean, the music is really good. If there's one thing that this movie has against it that I could honestly say is really the worst thing about it, it's unfortunately Susan Sarandon as the villain. Now, she as the evil queen is perfectly fine. I think she's a serviceable villain in here, but when she turns into the dragon at the end of the movie, they've been setting this up all movie long that she could turn into a dragon, and she can use that power to take over. And the whole climax of the movie is just this really terrible looking CG dragon in New York City, just doing nothing but spurring out, you know, the typical, you know, cliched riddled lines, and it gets so annoying so fast, and it's just like, man, this movie was working all the way across the board until we got to that point, and at that point, that's when the movie started to lose me a little bit here, and it really could have taken me out of the movie completely, but like I said, it's really something where it almost knocks the movie down a peg for me, but it's good. I'll give it credit that it's not enough to make me completely lose the movie altogether. I still had a really good time watching the film overall. I still think it's a really good film. if the Queen character was written better and there was much better lines for her instead of just, typical cliched lines you expect a villain like her to say, and like a better design in general, then this movie would be one of the pitch perfect movies Disney's ever made. But as it is, it's still a really good movie. It's still a really impressively made film, and it's just a ton of fun all across the board. It's a very good, very smart, very funny homage and satirical comedy centering around the Disney features, the classic Disney animated films, and it works very well for the most part. If the last 15 minutes of the movie would have been better, this would have been a classic film all across the board. But as it is, it's a really good movie, and I'll say this: avoid the sequel, because the sequel that came out over 15 years later on Disney Plus was really not that good. But there's one more thing I want to bring up about this movie that I thought was actually kind of humorous. This was a movie that was in development for quite some time, and believe it or not, the original intent of this movie was an R-rated comedy. Like, it was supposed to be originally a racier R-rated movie, and they took it to Touchstone Pictures, and and they decided not to go along with it, and just basically decided to rework the script a little bit more. Probably because they tried to do something similar with Cool World a couple years earlier in the 90s, and that didn't work out so well. That's my only guess that I can think of them not doing it. But imagine how different this movie could have been if it had gone the route of a racier R-rated movie. Like, they said it was supposed to be inspired by the risque comedies of the 80s and 90s, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and American Pie, and that would have been so much more so interesting and so incredible that they had actually gone through with it. But yeah, unfortunately they did not. But then again, the version we got was pretty good overall. I just thought that was kind of hilarious that they decided to do that at the first point of the movie. But of course, what we got instead was overall a very good film. The ending just needed to be a little bit better. So now, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is This Christmas.
You got a name, home?
She did always like them articulate.
They celebrate the holidays like no one else. You were naughty last night.
Technically, yes. Ho, ho, ho.
This Wednesday.
Bad girl.
Welcome to the family.
Your new Escalade. Can I try that? This is not funny. No, it's not, but I'm going to keep drinking until it is.
This Christmas. Rated PG-13. Opens everywhere Wednesday.
So, like I said before, this is very much in the same vein as The Family Stone and Dan in Real Life. It's a movie where you have a family coming back together for the holiday season, and this time you have the Whitfield family, whose eldest has come home for the first time in 4 years, and you have a cast that includes Delroy Lindo, Idris Elba, Loretta Devine, Chris Brown, Columbus Short, Regina King, Keith Robinson, Laz Alonso, Sharon Leal, Lauren London, Mekhi Phifer, Jessica Stoop. I mean, there is a lot of talented people all across the board in this movie, and yeah, like I said before, the movie definitely very much is in the same vein as, The Family Stone, Nothing Like the Holidays. In fact, the trailer literally is the same dialogue from the Family Stone trailer, where there's a part where, the trailer announcer goes, "There's nothing like the holidays to bring the family together." And in this movie, in this trailer, it's literally the same thing. They literally started off with, "There's nothing like the holidays that brings a family together." And yeah, it is literally a been there, done that type of movie before that we've seen done to death before so many times. This is a film that could easily have been just a generic, bland, in-your-face movie that could have been just so annoying and so not worth it, but it's those performances by these really damn good actors that really elevates this film to a whole nother level and makes it something that's pretty damn watchable and lovable to watch. I mean, I like watching this one a lot every holiday season. It's a movie that just features a lot of actors I really do like, a lot of great underrated actors in here. I mean, a lot of good talent all across the board here, and it's really funny stuff. It's a really good mix of comedy and drama, and a lot of great actors all across the board here. A lot of great music in this movie done by Neo. It is Neo. No, it's not Neo. It's Chris Brown. I'm thinking of what was the other? Wasn't there another Christmas movie that Neo was in? I got it confused. I thought Neo was in this film, but no, it's not. It's Chris Brown, and yeah, you see in the movie that the guy's still a pretty damn good singer, and they do a really good job of balancing out the comedy and the drama in here. And as I said before, like, if your movie can work because the performances are really selling it, then the movie can succeed on its own merits, and it definitely does in this case here. The performances in here are really strong all across the board. You really do get attached to every character involved in the movie, and it's very well done. It's a really engaging film that has a lot of things about it that I really do like about it. I like getting to know these characters a lot. I like seeing their trials and tribulations. I like the fact that everybody in here seems like realistic characters in any way, shape, or form, and it really helps when you have a very talented cast that can make this work overall. It's a movie I really do like watching every year. Like, I don't know what it is. It's what these movies in general. It could be like stuff like this, stuff like Nothing Like the Holidays. Every one of these movies is very much the same thing. It's the same formula over and over again. But because they have so many good people involved in the cast that can bring something new to it and do something that's a little bit different from other performances similar to other movies, that's where I think the movie can really shine in general. I think it's a very well-made film. A really good film over across the board. It's not a classic movie by any means necessary, and not really one of the best holiday movies ever, but considering that this is the season that gave us Fred Claus, I would rather take this movie over Fred Claus any day of the week. It's definitely a really good film. If you didn't get to see it this past holiday season, I highly recommend checking it out this holiday season, because it is definitely worth the watch in the end. So that is this Christmas. So let's go ahead and get into the movies that should be nowhere near the holiday season, but somebody at Fox had the bright idea to say, you know what we need to put out on Thanksgiving weekend? A motion picture adaptation of the video game Hitman. I don't know what it is about that particular trailer. I don't know if it's just the fact that they're playing a really damn good rendition of Ave Maria, or the trailer is just edited so well. But that trailer got me hyped up to see this movie in general. I had never heard of Hitman before this. I never played the video games. So I went in there pretty much with lesser expectations from the fans who were going into it because of the video games, because I thought the trailer looked pretty cool. And I saw Timothy Olyphant in Live Free or Die Hard that summer, and I thought the movie was going to be pretty good, and, yeah, needless to say, that was not the case. This is around that time when, you have all these video game movies coming out, and you have people who clearly have no intention on following the actual video game and actually telling a story, and instead just basically decide, let's just do Cliff Notes versions and take that out of the video game and put it into this movie, put it into a bland movie in general, because that's exactly what they do here in this movie. And you have Timothy Olyphant, who plays Agent 47, a professional hitman engineered to be an assassin for the organization. He becomes ensnared in a political conspiracy and finds himself pursued by both Interpol and the FSB. You have Dougray Scott and also Olga Kurylenko in the movie as well, in the first of 3 movies back-to-back where, there's scenes with her where they're clearly looking like they're about to have sex, and this is a woman that clearly has a body that literally looks like she's about to take her clothes off. And with this, Max Payne and Quantum of Solace, for some reason, she does not get naked whatsoever, and it's just like, then what's the point of her being here if she's not? Is she gonna act in the movie? Okay, she does. She's okay in this, I guess, but if there's anybody that actually does a pretty good acting job in here, it is Timothy Olyphant. I think he really is the best thing about the movie in general, because you could tell he loves the video games, and he knows how the Agent 47 should be acting in this. Unfortunately, everything else about the movie doesn't work. And it's like I said before, it's just the fact that you have all these people coming together to make a movie based off the video games, and instead of getting people who know the video games and know exactly what they need to do to make this video game adaptation be more similar to the video game, they're just taking little pieces and just adding it into a very generic plot that could be done in any other movie whatsoever, and that really hurts the film in the long run. It's a film that really could have been something really good, but it goes down the same predictable route that most bad video game adaptations go through. And despite Timothy Olyphant trying his best to save the film, it's just not enough to save the film in the end. And there was a reboot that came out not too long after this with Hitman Agent 47. Even that one didn't work very well in general. And there's so much possibility of what a Hitman TV series or a Hitman movie or a TV series can really do in general. But unfortunately, there hasn't been anyone out there that can really get the true potential of what Hitman should be like in a feature film or a television series. Hopefully that day will come sooner rather than later, because there is so much potential with what you can do with this character if you get the right people involved in it. And in this movie, it definitely was not that. Even though, like I said, Timothy Olyphant was the best thing about the movie, the rest of it, not so much. Despite that really promising trailer, it really was just one of the few things that kept the movie from staying relevant in any way, shape, or form, unfortunately. So, a hard skip on Hitman. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is August Rush.
Every dream has a sound.
Do you know what music is? Harmonic connection between all living beings.
It's the connection they could never forget.
Dad,
you have to give the baby a Lola! The music he plays.
If I could learn how to play, my mother and father might find me.
And the bond.
I've waited 11 years to find out that he's alive.
That could reunite them. August Rush, rated PG, starts November 21st. Special sneak preview this Saturday night.
And yet we have another one of those give us an Oscar movies, because, yeah, this is a film that is very much your typical Oscar bait movie, where you have a story that involves Freddie Highmore as an 11-year-old musical protege living in an orphanage who runs away to New York City, and he begins to unravel a mystery of who he is, while his mother, played by Kerry Russell, is searching for him, and his father is searching for her, the father played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. The many sounds and rhythms he hears throughout his journey culminate in a major instrumental composition that concludes with the score, August's Rhapsody. And you have Robin Williams, Terrence Howard, and William Sadler involved in this as well. But, yeah, like I said before, this is a film that is something that could have potential to work, but you look at it and you can just see they are trying so hard for that Oscar, man. They are trying to make this an awards contender here, and they're not even trying to hide it in this case. And this is done by the same team that wrote Hook, by the way, which was one of Steven Spielberg's lesser movies, but it's still a really good movie regardless. But it just felt like didn't have their hearts in this per se. And it'd be fine if the performances and the music were good, and the music and the performances are just mediocre at best. There's nothing about it that makes me say, this is something that I do want to see on a big screen. And no, this just feels like a TV movie that only got to the big screen because you got so many big prominent names in here, and that's just about it about this movie. There's nothing about it that makes it stand out. It's a very schmaltzy, a very boring, very bland, very generic movie. I didn't like it. Avoid it like the plague. So that's August Rush. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Stephen King's The Mist.
Come on, Dad, you gotta come see. What is that?
It came without warning.
Shut the doors!
And transformed a town.
It's dead.
From the master of terror, Stephen King.
There's nothing out there. Tie this around your waist to let us know you got at least 300 feet.
The mystery that surrounds it will become a fear.
The good book calls for blood.
They may never escape.
We want the gore.
The Mist, directed by Frank Darabont, rated R.
From Frank Darabont, the man who gave us the Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Majestic. This is based off of Stephen King's 1980 novella of the same name, where you follow a group of people in the small town of Bridgeton, Maine, because of course this has got to take place in Maine, who become trapped inside a supermarket after a mysterious mist envelops the town, concealing deadly, Lovecraftian creatures. As fear and paranoia spreads, tensions rise among the survivors. And it's mostly a monster movie, but it also explores how ordinary people react under extreme circumstances. And you know, kind of like everyday life in general. I mean, we're going through that right now, where we have something where ordinary people are reacting under extreme circumstances, specifically with, you know, all the tariffs going on right now and the egg prices and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is what we're dealing with right now. And this is something where, yeah, you could see where this could work into, a relatable thing that would still be relatable even by today's standards. But while all this is going on, we also have a monster movie here. And yeah, the monsters are legitimately threatening in this movie, but the real monsters are the people that are inside of this building, of this supermarket, where, you know, all their fears, all their trepidations, all their worries are in this one building. And you have all these different viewpoints coming together here, and it leads into a very engaging and intriguing character developing storyline here. And there is a notable change with the ending of the movie, where even Stephen King supported the way the ending of the movie changes. And considering I had never read the book before and had no idea what the original ending was, when I first saw the movie, I went along with it. And even today, I have no real problems with the ending whatsoever. I think they did a pretty good job of tying this back into the ideals of the original storyline here. I never really ever saw the original ending of the book or read the original ending of the book, so I really don't know for certain how different it is overall, but it really wasn't noticeable to me at any point during this. But overall, yeah, I did really enjoy the movie. I thought it was a very impressively put together film with a lot of really good talent. Thomas Jane, Marsha Gay Harden, Andre Braugher, Toby Jones. A lot of really good talent, a lot of intense moments, a lot of tension-filled moments all across the board. And it's a really good film. It's a very entertaining film that I liked a lot. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really thought it was a very well put together film. I thought it was pretty good. I recommend The Mist. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is a plethora of people playing Bob Dylan in I'm Not There.
You just want me to say what you want me to say.
Before Timothy Chalamet took on the role recently in A Complete Unknown, you had 5 different actors playing Bob Dylan in the movie. So 6 actors, actually. So, yeah, take that, Chalamet. Actually, I heard Chalamet's pretty good in The Complete Unknown. I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately, but I have seen this one here, and it is a very interesting biographical film where it is inspired by the life of music and the music of American singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, where you have 6 different actors putting different versions of Dylan's public personas on these different characters. You have Christian Bale playing one, Cate Blanchett playing a version of him, Marcus Carl Franklin, a young black boy playing him, Richard Gere, Heath Ledger, in what would be his last film before he passed away in January of 2008. And Ben Whishaw, who, for a lot of people, this was the first time they really realized that, you know, this guy could be a really damn good actor, because he would later go on to star in the James Bond movies, and then, of course, would follow it up with Paddington. And, yeah, it's a really good concept overall here, and it really does work, because it's very interesting seeing all these different unique people playing this persona of Bob Dylan, and they all play their parts very well, and they really do work very well for these with the characters that they have in here. All the actors play their parts very well here. Cate Blanchett really is the big breakout as Bob Dylan in this movie. She's the one that got the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and well deserved, because she was actually pretty damn terrific in this movie. She was very well played in this, and she fit it very well. It fit it to a T. Like, she was really damn good in this movie. This is a really good film, one that did not get the attention that it deserved back then. It was a flop at the box office, even though it was highly praised by critics overall. It was a really good film all across the board. It's a film that definitely deserves a lot more attention, and I think with A Complete Unknown now coming out, and, you know, everyone kind of getting a little bit more into Bob Dylan again thanks to that movie, it might be a good time to re-experience this one again. This is a film that actually definitely deserves a lot more appreciation than it deserves, especially now with Complete Unknown coming out. So I do highly recommend checking this one out. I'm Not There. Really damn good movie. Definitely check it out.
Age to be married.
You got your whole life ahead of you.
Do I? It is a real possibility that you will die on this table.
I'll be right here.
Is it good to go? Am I supposed to be asleep? Hell no, I can do this. I can still hear you.
In an hour, he'll be dead and we'll be rich.
Wait, what?
How do you fight for your life
They're trying to kill me.
when no one can hear you scream?
What's going on?
Everything's fine. He's lying to you. No, no, no!
Awake, rated R, everywhere November 30th.
Such a good premise here. You have a guy who is going into open heart surgery, and they give him the anesthetic to like shut him down while they're doing this, so there's no way that he can feel pain and all that. But you have this one guy who played by Christensen, who he has a failed anesthetic that leaves him completely alert but paralyzed and unable to tell his doctors. And then they ruin it by adding a conspiracy theory aspect to it. And yes, this is the thing that literally kills the movie right after a really good premise, because come on, a story about a guy who is going into surgery to have open heart surgery, and he's going in there and he's got this anesthetic, and then it fails on him, and the fact that he's still able to see and feel it without being conscious whatsoever. I mean, that's a horrifying thing to happen to you. And supposedly this happens in real life too. I don't know for certain because I've never had that happen before, but I will not be shocked at all if this actually does happen to a lot of people. And yeah, it is a very terrifying thing to think about, that you're supposed to get this anesthesia so you don't have to feel any of the pain whatsoever. And then you have this one guy here who is feeling this pain and can't do anything about it. And yeah, it's a good concept overall. It could have made for a really interesting and engaging film overall. And Christensen is doing the best he can with this performance overall. I think he's pretty good in here. But they have to ruin the film by adding the conspiracy theory aspect to it, because his best friend is doing this, played by Terrence Howard, and he doesn't find out until they put the anesthesia on him that there are people who are trying to they're killing him because they think they can get a big payday out of it, and it just gets so convoluted and it gets so cluttered and messed up on so many levels, where like the basic message of the movie is that do not trust anybody that you know, not even people in your immediate family, because they are all out to kill you. As this movie shows, literally everybody that this guy knows wants him dead. And not just Terrence Howard, but his wife, played by Jessica Alba, which, man, what a bad year this was for her. And this was really, after Dark Angel ended, there was just no hope for her in terms of a leading film actress anymore. After a year where you have Rise of the Silver Surfer, Good Luck Chuck, and now this, your career is pretty much over and done with. No one will take you seriously as a leading actress anymore. But his mother is killed his father back when he was a kid. Like, everybody in this person's life hates him in some way, shape, or form. And it's just like, what am I supposed to take away from this whole concept altogether? Like, what am I supposed to take away by adding this conspiracy theory aspect to it? I mean, it really is the thing that just pushes this movie off the deep end, and it just takes away anything that the intriguing premise had going for it, and it just falls apart immediately, and it just ruins what could have been a really good movie, a really intense thriller that could have been something on the level of something like, a Jacob's Ladder, if you will. Like, go insane with it. Go over the top with some of these darker images that you could have in here, and no. They don't do that at all here, and because they went down this route, the film suffers big time. And yeah, like I said before, everybody in this movie just hates this guy because the only thing I can think of is that, he's a young billionaire, they want that money of his, and that's the only real explanation that you get from all of this. And it's just like, nothing about this makes any goddamn sense whatsoever, and it's just such a disastrous movie that takes a really good premise and just completely careens it once they throw in this aspect of, let's kill the guy while he's in here and take his money. Like, it's just, it hurts my brain just thinking about it all over again, because I was so pissed off when I saw that. And it's just like, there's a way you could do this where it could be very interesting. It could have some really good twists and turns, but they destroy that almost immediately, and like it's not even clever the way they do it. They literally just throw it in there, and it just takes away anything good that this thing could have had for it. And yeah, and then what we get is a film that properly deserves to be dumped on the weekend after Thanksgiving, because yeah, this is a film that would have never done well on a regular weekend in the box office. Now, this would have been a weekend. This is the right weekend to release it on, because this is a weekend when you usually dump wide releases out there. And yeah, this is a film that clearly was meant to be dumped onto theaters, and overall, yes, was not a good film at all, despite a strong premise that kept it from, that could have made it something incredible, and it just wasn't there. And I was really, really let down by this movie big time, because of the direction it went with. Just such a good premise, and nothing of value whatsoever came out of it. It's a film that's it's just a film that takes this 360-degree turn and ruins any good hope that this film had whatsoever. One of the biggest disappointments I ever had when I saw this movie for the first time. I was really let down by it. A really bad movie. Avoid it like the plague, because, man, they took a great premise and just completely fucked it all up. What did I even say there? Fucked it all up. So that is the big wide release of the weekend, but there are still 2 limited releases that came out this weekend that were seen as awards contenders. Let's start with the first one we have here. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Laura Linney starring in the comedy drama The Savages.
Fox Searchlight Pictures presents
Maybe Dad didn't abandon us. Maybe he just forgot who we were.
a serious comedy about what happens when everyone in the family
What do you think?
What's it do?
Nothing.
finally starts acting their age.
You're doing the right thing, man. Taking better care of the old man than you ever did of us.
I know.
So in the story of The Savages, you have John and Wendy Savage, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman and Laura Linney, who are 2 siblings who spend their adult years trying to recover from the abuse of their abusive father, Lenny Savage, played by Philip Bosco, and actually his last film before he passed away in 2018. Suddenly a call comes in that his girlfriend has died. He cannot care for himself with this dementia, and his family is dumping him on his children. Despite the fact that John and Wendy have not spoken to Lenny for 20 years, he's even more loathsome than ever. The Savage siblings feel obligated to take care of him. Now, together, brother and sister must come to terms with their new and painful responsibilities with their father now, affecting their lives even as they struggle with their own personal demons Lenny helped create. And really, this is a story that I think a lot of people can really relate to. Not maybe to this extreme, but the idea of your parents going into hospice. I mean, my parents went through that with their parents. It's a very hard thing to do. It's a very hard thing to see, your loved ones just fading away like they did. I mean, I just had that last year with my grandmother, and yeah, so watching this, getting ready for this, was really hard to sit through for the first time, because it's my first time seeing it. It's one I've been wanting to see for a while now, and man, it's a really damn good movie, and it feels very realistic. It felt like something that, it really did feel very. It affected me a lot more. I mean, like I said, not to the levels of this movie's main family members. I mean, nobody in my family was ever abusive, as far as I know. But yeah, no one was ever abusive to the levels that this guy was here. But everybody just plays their part here very well. Laura Linney and Philip Seymour Hoffman once again are prove that they are great actors who could make this work. Philip Bosco, really fantastic in the film. It's amazing he did not get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. I really thought that he would have gotten a nomination for this, but Laura Linney did, as did the screenplay by the director Tamara Jenkins, who did Slums of Beverly Hills. But yeah, it is a real engaging movie. It's a film that does a good job of balancing the more serious moments with the more funny moments, and it does a very good job of handling it in a way that does feel very realistic and feels very, very in tone with what you expect for a film like this. And it just works because you got these 3 great actors working off each other, and you buy their relationship. You buy the fact that they are feeling these feelings overall. And yeah, they're not afraid to show the dark stuff in this movie. They're not afraid to show the serious stuff in this that really goes through all the situations that everyone goes through here. And yeah, it's a really good film. I mean, I don't have much more to say about it, man, because it's such a good film. It's definitely worth it. A very underrated movie that came out that year. I'm glad I finally got to see it. Definitely check it out, The Savages. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is The Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Los Angeles Times, New York Magazine, Film Comment, NPR, and the Wall Street Journal all agree. Diving Bell is the best picture of the year. Discover the extraordinary motion picture critics are calling the most astonishing, poetic, and powerful film of the season. A masterpiece, now nominated for 3 Golden Globes, including Best Picture of the Year. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Rated PG-13. Now playing in select cities.
This is based off of John Demick's Bobby's memoir from 1997, where it depicts his life after his life. I thought it was a woman for some reason, but no, his life after suffering a massive stroke that left him with a condition known as locked-in syndrome. It was a highly praised movie when it came out, and received a couple of Oscar nominations overall. You saw it in that commercial there, which I thought for a second was a fake trailer because there was just something weird about the announcer's voice in that. But no, that's apparently a real trailer, or maybe one for the awards consideration. But yeah, I've never seen this movie before, so I can't really say for certain if it's any good or not. But you see all the word of mouth on it. You saw the high praise it got, and it definitely feels like a film that could have easily been one of the year's best movies overall, but it's a film that I never really got around to seeing. It's just a film that never really appealed to me all that much, but it looks like what it is. Maybe I'll check it out one day, but as far as I know right now, I've never seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. So that is The Diving Bell and the Butterfly for you.